We've got a great group of folks here today. We have our Secretary for the Agency of Healthcare Administration, Secretary Simone Marsteller. We have the Surgeon General of the state of Florida, Dr. Joe Ladapo. Who was actually with me yesterday doing an announcement right basically on the Florida-Georgia border we were at, and is now down here covering the entire state with this bill that we're going to sign today, Representative Jason Schoaf. So I want to thank him for doing it. And then we also have from Miami, Senator Ileana Garcia, who was one of the sponsors of this bill, and then two local representatives, Bob Rommel and Lauren Mello. So I want to thank them for their hard work. And then we have two folks who are going to speak about the justification to separate loved ones from each other, to deny somebody who's in the hospital the right to have their spouse present or their children present. And so we thought that we needed to make sure that Florida was leading the way on this to protect patients' rights, to make sure that as somebody who, if you're hospitalized or you're in a long-term care facility, you have the right to have your family members present with you. And we have to stand up and say that. And so actually under the Trump administration, they had suspended visitation in nursing homes, and then they put that back in 2020. We obviously did that even beforehand. We were ahead of the curve. But you know, HHS and the federal government, they've yet to reinstate visitation protections for patients in hospitals nationwide. And so you usually have protections. They're not as strong as what I'm going to sign into law today, but they're usually as federal protections, and they have basically suspended those protections. And so you have some parts of the country where people still aren't able to get in and see their loved ones in these certain circumstances. And so what we're doing here today is underscoring and solidifying in Florida law these really significant rights for Floridians. And so the bill that we're going to sign today is called the No Patient Left Alone Act. And it increases patient protections and ensures Florida families have a fundamental right to visit their loved ones receiving care in Florida hospitals, hospices, and long-term care facilities. The bill bans facilities from requiring visitors to show proof of COVID vaccination. You know, there's some places that, you know, people have COVID, they have immunity, so they're not getting vaccinated, and then they're being denied the ability to go into these places. Meanwhile, you could have other folks who have not had COVID, and their protection isn't even as strong. So we wanted to make sure that was good. Also, policies cannot prohibit physical contact, such as hugging between their loved ones. They would actually police this, where you go in and you said, okay, you may be able to go, but you can't give your wife a hug, or you can't give your kid a hug. I mean, give me a break. And so we need to be able to protect that. This ensures families can be there and patients can have their support system around them when it matters most. And I want to thank our First Lady, my wife, for all the work that she did to get this bill across the finish line. You know, we've, over the last 6 months, experienced this firsthand. And I was, you know, I would go with her to her chemotherapy and when she was in the hospital, and you're there. And I can tell you, if I had not been there, it would have been more difficult for her. I mean, you know, you need to have the people that you love there with you. And so we were fortunate to be able to do that. But I think that should be the expectation, you know, that you have that. And then if I mean, just imagine, like, we have young kids. I mean, what, you're not going to let both the parents in to be, if you have a kid that has a problem? So this is really important. And I know that this was something that was really meaningful for her, and I think that she did a really good job. But isolating people is not healthy. That is not the right thing to do, and making sure that we're facilitating the connections that really make life worth living is something that's very, very important. And you have these situations, even if it's more of a routine hospitalization, just the fact that that support system's there means an awful lot. And then, of course, we do have these situations where someone comes to the end of the road, you have an end-of-life situation, and to be able to have all the family present, to be able to say goodbye, that is so meaningful, and to deprive them of that is really, really bad. And so that's not going to happen in the state of Florida, and I do want to say we've had a lot of hospitals that have really worked constructively with us on this, because I think they understood how significant this is, and I think it's the right thing to do. I also think, just from a healthcare perspective, I think it does lead to better outcomes to have this support. You got enough going on when you're in the hospital for something, and the last thing you want to be is just sitting there wondering where all your family is and be lonely and isolated. So this was a good bill. This is a bill that I'm really proud to be able to sign into law momentarily after we hear from some of our folks, and I hope that the federal government will reinstate the protections federally that they've had. I mean, it's been 2 years now with this, and the idea that you still have some families that will not be allowed to be together at these critical moments anywhere in our country is a real sad commentary on the state of affairs that we see. So Florida's not going to be denied that. We're going to make sure that we're fighting for our patients, and that's what we do here today. We've got a lot of great people that are here to be able to offer some comments. And so we're going to start with our Secretary of what we call ACA, that oversees all the hospital system and the nursing homes in Florida, Simone Marsteller.